Welcome home, all. Tuesday, we are the 23rd of 2026. And if I'm not mistaken, first things first, I think we are, what's this? We are good for tonight and tomorrow, or is it Thursday? Tomorrow. So we'll be here tomorrow, not the Thursday normal. Little issue with the situation of the facility. So we'll be on Tuesday and Wednesday, not the normal Tuesday, Thursday. But back tomorrow after today. Okay, so tonight and tomorrow, back to back. Okay, so I held off a little bit last week on the MOU. For those of you that don't know, MOU is Memorandum of Understanding. It is like the beginning of a document to state and to get to an agreement between two parties or multiple parties on something in writing that they're going to agree to or sign off on, and finish up with at some point, after an MOU, a memorandum of understanding. A memorandum of understanding is not like a peace treaty or a document that finalizes the end of a war. Okay, it's quite literally of understanding, meaning these are the things that we agree on or understand, and let's work on these things to get to the final. All right, so that's where that was. There were things that I did see last week, right prior to going on air with you guys last week, that I chose to hold off on commenting about because, again, I want to see it finalized and done. And in a way, we're still kind of there. They're meeting the Iranian contingent and our dumb shit people, Vance and whoever else the others are, meeting in Geneva, Switzerland, not Geneva, Evian, Switzerland. And because I think the G7 was held there. I'm not sure where they're meeting now. But anyway, so the G7 was in Evian, Switzerland, and it kind of came from that. And Vance is now meeting with Iranian officials to work on the memorandum of understanding and come to an agreement, basically a deal of peace. So before we get to any particulars, I want to be clear, simple, and blunt to the point to start. And I do as much of that as I can, on this show, is I don't like the equivocation. I don't like the nuance and the gray shit. If that's there, I'll say so. But we quite literally get plenty of that from normal politicians anyway. And I don't want to traffic in that. I don't want to be that. I don't like that. I think regular folk, regular people that watch this show, they want a simple truth, a simple understanding. And as I said again, if it isn't, or it can't be simple, I'll just say so and stipulate, right? I'll just tell you that. But you can be simple. It can be clear. You can make statements that are provable, okay? That, again, objectively provable. And I think that's the case here, to large measure. Again, we're not seeing the full result of what the agreement is ultimately going to be because they're still working on it. There are some parameters. Like I said, I saw some of them last week before I went on air. Wasn't willing to comment on them because they can shift or change. But we have some broad strokes of what's going on. And those are quite literally things that I'll talk about tonight. But again, to be blunt, simple, and upfront, it is not a good thing. Okay? It is not good for the United States. Clearly, it wasn't, past tense, was not good for the Iranian people. And I'm going to be clear on this as well. If I sound like, you sound like you're for the enemy or not against the enemy, I'm going to say this and make sure I'm pretty fucking clear about it, okay? I'm not necessarily against the Iranian people, nor do I think the American people should be against the Iranian people. Be clear about that, all right? Be 100% clear about that. Because when old middle-aged dudes start shit and start wars, it's usually young people and regular people that die for it. Okay? I'm not out starting wars. It's almost never that. It's usually, in our case in the United States, it's usually an old fat white guy. And that's just a generalized statement, but it's also true. Okay? The Iranian people are run by their regime And it is largely theocratic, religious, oppressive, and a whole bunch of other things. I wish they're regular people, moms and dads, children, etc., regular people in Iran. I wish they had the ability to live different, free, like us. Well, not entirely like us that way. We've got some freedoms that we're kind of not, that we're kind of losing. But I wish those people had the ability, and I wish they weren't run by their regime, the people that run them, because their people hurt their people, meaning the people at the top that are running their country, their government, they hurt their own people. That's not in question. Okay, so I'm not against the Iranian people. I can be against the Iranian government. I could be against people that kill their own people. I could be against people that treat their people less than human. And that's not just Iran, by the way. That's a lot of countries. So I'm not necessarily against the Iranian people. I'm not. So I'm not saying positive things about their government, but I have stated and I've said on air, and this comes from a background of studying and learning and knowing and reading a lot of books, a lot of material over a lifetime, not yesterday, not overnight. Didn't go to college. Oh, I'm going to start studying this stuff. No. This is over a lifetime. I have immersed myself over a lifetime since I was a little boy in war, foreign policy, history, and knowing other people. That is literally what my study has been my entire life. Since I was a kid, learning at the knees of two World War II grandfathers. They're the ones that taught me these things. They're the ones that interested me. My grandpa Ernie gave me my first book on John F. Kennedy, PT 109. If you don't know it, I highly recommend it to your kids and you. John F. Kennedy, PT 109. I'll leave it there, but that is some of the earliest stuff that I remember as a kid. So this isn't good for us. This isn't good for the Iranian people. If you look at it from a mechanical perspective, no emotion whatsoever, just methodical, robotic, no emotion, just numbers and data. What we're seeing, at least in the beginning of this negotiation to get to peace and an MOU, the numbers are not good for the United States. Numbers are not good for us. The data is not good for us as a whole. And I'm going to begin by doing this the other way around. Because I'm going to get through all my points here if you're looking at the title. And I hope some of you guys, you read the title and you're like, okay, that's what he's talking about today, because I got to stay on point, right? Got to stay on task about the titles that I give you in my shows. And right at the top is basically Traitor Trump, Candyasses out. And the obvious point to argue, if you're a MAGA cult member, would be like, well, how can you say he's candy-assing out? Well, he is. Okay. One, he's the candy ass because he would never fight a fight of his own anyway. That's not in dispute. He never has. Has anybody ever seen Donald Trump actually fight? I mean, like really fight. Physically get in there and bust somebody up? No. Simple. The answer is no. He's a candy ass. He's a coward. He's a bitch. All right. And I'm being nice. I could have said Traitor Trump bitches out, but he candy-assed out. And why did he candy-ass out and get out of a war that he got us into for unnecessary reasons? No, whatever. And I'll say illegal, unconstitutional, incompetent. All true. I've been saying that since the beginning. Every time I bring this war up in particular, I will always state that. Illegal, unconstitutional, and incompetent. A very, very bad stew mix of not good shit when we're talking about a war. Illegal, unconstitutional, incompetent. So he candy-asses out. Because it wasn't easy. Things happened that he had no control over after he started the fight. He picked a fight, and then when the fight went weird or different, and the other guy, metaphorically, the other guy is standing across from him, and he gets socked, and he doesn't respond the way Trump expected him to or wanted to, and he's still fighting, and he's not giving up, and he's not quitting, and he's doing other shit that harms us, meaning the United States and our people. His first response is to get the hell out. Because he's a bitch. Your response should be, well, you want him to fight more? No. And I'm going to point this out and make sure this is 100% clear. Because there are actually Republicans in the Congress and in upper administration and MAGA cult members that are running around crying like little bitches about how, oh, the left or other, right? And for the record, I'm not uniformly left or right. I'm all of it, and I'm not any of it. I quite literally base my position on the issue, not on some party or policy that way. So they're crying and bitching like, oh, you guys wanted him to stop the war, and now that he's going to stop the war, you're going to complain about it. No, I'm not complaining about it. Let's go back to core and simple, right? Simple, like I said at the top of the hour, right? Top of the show. Let's go back to simple. I am not going to applaud, congratulate, or acknowledge anything positive from a fucking arsonist that started a fire and is trying to put the fire out and wants credit for trying to stop the fire. If you're applauding that, if you think that's good, if you want that as a marker for success, then you're stupid. I'm not. He picked the fight. He started the fight. And now he doesn't like the fight, so he wants to end it and walk away like a bitch. And you want me to applaud that? You want me to give credit to that? Fruit of the poison tree. I've said that more than a few times already. And I'm going to remind you, because I don't do this normally, but the book by Rick Wilson, and I didn't read it, but I probably should at this point because I've quoted it and I've given the guy credit. The dude Rick Wilson, he's a hardcore Republican dude, Republican operative, by the way. And I'll give him credit because he actually has the balls in the spine as a Republican to say this is fucked up, this is not good shit. And his book was, and he wrote this before the first Trump presidency, Everything Trump Touches Dies. That's the book. I may have to actually read that book. Understanding, of course, obviously I know the premise, and I believe in the premise. That's the point to why I'm bringing it up now. Fruit of the poison tree. Everything Trump touches dies or corrupts in some form or fashion. So let's keep it like Vadio style right here, right? Right out of the street. You go and pick a fight with some vato from the other side of town, another Vadio street over. You go pick a fight with that dude, and he doesn't go down, and he's not stopping, and he keeps fighting back, or he's not going away. And you get tired of it, and you want to stop the fight, and you want to just walk away like a bitch. Do you expect me to applaud that shit? You expect me to like that? You expect me to think that's good? That's a bitch. That is about candy asses you're going to get, at least the way I grew up. Okay, at least the way I grew up. Maybe the rest of you haven't grown up that way. And I don't want to get too, critical on the street thing, but it is that, right? He picked a fight with someone. They didn't go down easily. And now it's getting a little ugly on the back end, financially, economically, our markets, our gas, our bills, et cetera. We've talked about that in the past couple of episodes. And now he wants to walk away from the fight. And the other side didn't quit. They didn't give up. But Donald Trump wants to walk away from the fight because the fight's getting hot and it's not going away. So like a bitch, he wants to walk away. Fruit of the poison tree. This MOU that we're working on now, that we're going to get a peace deal out of, is the result of, and I'm going to use this again, the result of an arsonist starting a fire, coming back to try to put the fire out, and wanting credit for trying to put the fire out. No, senor. No, senor. I'm going to do some Rafi Devers stuff. No. I'm not coming out. You don't get credit for that. Now, I'm speaking to my listener, my viewer now, not the MAGA cult. I'm teaching you, educating you on what rabbit hole not to go down. When they tell you, oh, you need to be for it, you should be supporting him, he's trying for peace. You don't give him credit for trying to get to a peace deal. when he's the fucker who started the fight in the first place? Do I want more Americans dead? No, clearly not. I didn't want the 14 dead in the first place. But by acknowledging or accepting or normalizing his bullshit and wanting you to congratulate him for his peace deal, you give in to him. You accept the premise that the fight he started was just or okay. And there's nothing wrong with it. I don't get to that. I start at the beginning. He picked a fight for no reason, started a fucking war, has spent billions of American dollars that we don't need to be spending because the economy is shit right now. Lost 14 American lives with hundreds more wounded and maimed, injured, that they're not going to get rid of for the rest of their fucking lives. So no, I don't accept any of it. A piece of shit's a piece of shit. A traitor is a traitor. A rapist is a rapist. A racist is a racist. And a fat, lazy, coward candy ass is a fat, lazy, coward candy ass. All true of Donald Trump. And I'm going to reiterate that point. If any of you that watch this show, if any MAGA nutmegs that watch this show that see something and they see the title and they don't like it, they pocket and they poke their head in to see what I said, show me, provide me evidence where Donald Trump is actually engaged in a fight personally, that he actually got in a fight and won that fight, let alone won it, by the way. Good luck with that. It does not exist. Non sequitur. It does not follow because it never happened. It never will. Okay, so again, being clear, simple, and blunt, I do not accept. And you, if you're a real American and you want to fight for this goddamn country, such as it is, what's left of it, then you don't accept this premise. You don't accept the bullshit that they're playing out right now. You begin, and I've said this a few times already over the last few shows, you begin with the understanding that everything that comes out of it is poison from the poison tree, fruit of the poison tree. It's all garbage. Again, I will not applaud or congratulate an arsonist that started the fire. Get it? And stay there. You stay with me, my viewer, my listener. Stay with me on that. Don't budge on that. Stay strong on that. When you hear MAGA nutsack crazy shit, don't waver. Don't budge. Like, oh, you should be happy you were getting a peace deal. No, I'm not happy. Because there should be no peace deal. There should have never been war. Period. That's not up for debate. And the sooner my members, my viewers, my people listen and understand that and fight back that way, that is how you fight. You don't budge when we are right. You don't compromise. You don't give a damn inch to a bunch of people that'll take that inch and spin it into a mile for negative and malicious result. And I've said this before. They're evil. They're evil. I call it what it is. I ain't bullshitting anymore. Okay, I ain't bullshitting with you. They're evil. If you willingly, knowingly get people killed and you don't give a shit, so long as it benefits you or you find a way to make yourself look good, you're fucking evil. Clear? We understanding? You're evil. You get people killed. Moms and dad lose their sons or daughters. Americans are dead. You're evil if you pull that shit. So we're clear as to where I'm at. Those of you that watch and listen to me, you should be clear where you're at because this is a simple one. It's a right and wrong issue. It's black and white. There's no in between. There's no compromise. Again, as I said earlier, I'm not applauding, congratulating, or accepting the shit that the arsonist pulled to start the fire and expect me to be thankful that he's stopping or he's going to stop the fire from growing anymore. Because for the record, that fire has already burned up a lot of shit. A lot of money, a lot of people, a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of our economy, a lot of our allies, a lot of people we trusted, other allies, other countries. That's all on the table. Okay, so bottom line, take from the top line here. My point. not the bottom line, the top line. The top line of the title to this show. The traitor Candyasses is out. He candied out. Shit got too hot. Now he's pulling out. And we're going to suffer for it. We're not going to be better off for it. This deal is not going to be good for us. Don't compromise. Don't compromise when we're in the right. Okay? So from last week to now, some of the things that I do know that I can state, again, I don't like speaking about things unless they're in stone and they're set and they're provable, right? Because some of this is still negotiation. But one thing that we do know, Iran is now free to ship oil through the Strait of Hormuz and make money. That's going on as we speak. Iran is now shipping oil, okay? Whereas before, during the war, even though they said it wasn't a war, but it's a war, illegal, unconstitutional, incompetent. Iran is now free to ship oil. They're doing so through the Strait of Hormuz and making money. To compound that, the enemy he created for us, they're making money off the Strait of Hormuz like they didn't before. Watch this. Other Gulf nations, meaning that area in the Middle East, the other Arab countries, Gulf nations, that also have oil, that also send oil as part of their economy, they are not able to send their ships through the Strait of Hormuz. Right now, as we speak, only Iran and Iranian ships are moving through the Strait of Hormuz to conduct business and make money. Okay? The other Gulf nations are not, because this deal is not done. This is something the United States, our dumb shit people, agreed to, that Iran can now conduct operations and business through the Strait of Hormuz, but the other Gulf nations cannot. So as we speak, the other Gulf nations are not too happy with the United States, even though we're doing this because we're saying that we're supporting these other Gulf nations, right? So we're pissing them off too. To a point. This one, it's kind of a bee in the bonnet, a burr in the saddle, other cool things to say. Saudi Arabia, for me anyway, because I've got my issues with the nation, or the country, the nation, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. A not so subtle reminder, because those of you that forget your history, doomed to repeat it, you know the line. But those of you who forget the history, if you're young, then I'm a little more forgiving and understanding of you. But what you should know is that I want to say 14 of the 19, it's either 15 of 19 or 14 maybe something like that. 14 of 19 of the attackers on September 11th that attacked the United States and killed our people. Okay, that's, again, not debatable. Fact. We were attacked. And we lost American lives. Twin Towers went down. Other places were hit. And we lost thousands of Americans on that day. And then we ended up in war because of it. Okay? So on that day, 14 of the 19 attackers, the people that put it together, Osama bin Laden and the others on that day that were sent on the planes that pulled the action, 14 of the 19 were from Saudi Arabia. And I have to repeat that and say it again, because some of you seem to have not remembered that, or never to have internalized that. With me, because of who I am and the way I believe in being a former history teacher, I cannot forget these things, and I will not forget these things, and you should not forget these things. The people that attacked us, that killed our people on 9/11, 14 of 19 of them were Saudi Arabian nationals from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I got an issue with that. And I will always have an issue till the day I fucking die about that. I can't get past it, and I never have, and I never will. And I think the reason I can't get past it is because other people, a lot of people have gotten past it, don't even remember it. And I have a problem with that. How could you not remember the people that attacked your people? It's quite literally the whole point to it. They attacked us. How can we not remind ourselves of the ones that attacked us? 14 of the 19 were Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia today is now tacking back in their approach, in their diplomacy, in their foreign policy, tacking back toward China and Russia. Now, they are very good, like other countries too. They're not the only ones, okay, but they are very good at playing the fence, playing the middle to their benefit. And for the record, let's be 100% clear. You expect that of any country, right? You know, you expect them to advocate for their own people, to advocate and act in interest of their country and their people. I get that part. I understand that. Now, having said that I understand that, doesn't mean I have to accept it as an American. Clear? Make sure we're clear here. I can understand that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia acts in its own interest for its people. And that's debatable too, by the way. But you get my point. I can accept and understand that politically they act in the interest of Saudi Arabia, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. That's what they do. That's what they should do. I get that part. But I'm going to say again and make sure we're clear. I'm not Saudi Arabian. I'm American. And I don't have to accept that shit. I don't have to accept that they advocate for their own people and they use us as a bitch to do so. 14 of 19 of the 19 people that attacked us were Saudi Arabian. I don't have to accept that. I think there should be, or there should have been, a response, a reaction, appropriate, measured, but acknowledging the fact that your people from your country, killed my people. Now, we didn't go to war. I'm not saying we should have. But I think too many people have forgotten that 14 of the 19 people that attacked us on September 11, 2001 were Saudi Arabian. My point, as I'm going, is Saudi Arabia, again, does what other countries do. They play what they need to play to benefit their own people, their own kingdom, and their own country. Get it? But I have a built-in hiccup and hitch when it comes to Saudi Arabia because of the fact that that kingdom, that country was never held to account as an entity for the people that are their people, their nationals, that killed American people. They never paid a price for that. They did not. If anything, since that time, and it's a long way down the road, we're 25 years past, right? Quarter of a century. And I'll say specifically, because most of you should know where I'm going with this, if you've watched enough. Donald Trump has prostituted and pimped out the United States to Saudi Arabia. Reframe that. Understand that. I'm going to say it again. The President of the United States, in the first term and in the second shit term, has prostituted and pimped out the United States as a country, as the government, as a people, to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. In a lot of ways. In a lot of ways. Too many to count here, but as quick reference point, the sale of high-tech, advanced weaponry, our weapons technology, we have sold directly to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I have a problem with that. And I'm going to be clear again. If you're one of my listeners, one of my viewers, one of my followers, I'm expecting you, I'm asking you to have a problem with that. We should have a fucking problem with that. We are selling advanced weapons technology, advanced weapons system, including aircraft, others, missile defense system, missiles themselves. We have sold a lot and given a lot of weaponry to Saudi Arabia. Again, reminder, the same Kingdom of Saudi Arabia that housed, raised 14 of the 19 9/11 attackers. I have a problem with that. If you're my viewer, my listener, my follower, you should too. For the simple and the obvious, this isn't me telling you you should. You should logically have an issue with that. I'm just reminding you that you should have an issue with that government. I don't think we should be selling them our weapons technology. They play footsie and bullshit around with China and Russia. China and Russia are not our friends. They would like nothing more to push a button and wipe our asses out and remove us from the face of the earth. I don't believe we should be giving and bending over backward and kissing ass to the kingdom of Saudi Arabia when they're not a friend or ally of ours that way. They play the middle. As I've said before, they look out for themselves. I get it. But again, I don't have to accept it. I don't have to like it. In my world, if I'm going to give you our most advanced weapons system, our most advanced weapons technology, your ass better be on board with the United States and not be playing footsie and bitch with two other countries that are aligned naturally against us, China and Russia. You either get on board or get the fuck out. I ain't helping you. I ain't hooking you up. I ain't giving you my best military weaponry systems. I ain't doing that shit. If you're over there playing footsie with Russia and China, hell no, I ain't doing that. You shouldn't do that. But that is the case right now. And as of today and over this last few weeks, as we've gotten to this joke of an MOU, this bitch out on a global scale of the United States by a president that's a candy-ass coward himself, Saudi Arabia is basically like kind of turning their back on us. And their argument is, and this isn't just me, you can read, watch other stations, watch global news sources, not just Fox News, you know, famously known for lying and having to pay a price for it. Lied on air. They lie all the damn time. Saudi Arabia, after watching us conduct the Iran war and watching Iran hit Saudi Arabia and us not being able to defend them, I say us, the United States, right? Saudi Arabia is not happy with the fact that they're kissing our ass and we're kissing their ass. For the record, not we, you and I, but we, fat ass Trump. And we couldn't handle our shit and we've candied out of this war with Iran, and Iran remains. We haven't degraded or removed their nuclear capability. They still have weapon systems. They took down a chopper not even a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. Even though, according to Donald Trump's lying fat ass, we had obliterated all their capability, all their aircraft, all of their ground missile capability. Clearly a lie, because he lies all the fucking time. You're stupid if you believe him. Statement of fact. So, Saudi Arabia, and more than likely, because Saudi Arabia, if it goes, the others will also, are not happy with the result of this war, this idiot's war. And now they're beginning to play footsie again with Russia and China, with the argument and the understanding that the United States can't defend them. Maybe we should go somewhere else. Real simple. It's like, this is like some caveman shit, real easy. If you can't defend them, then they're going to go somewhere else. And Iran did hit them. They busted them up pretty good a lot of ways. You know, their country, meaning they launched drones and other things into Saudi Arabia and took out bases, if not industrial, etc. Right? They hit them. So we can't defend them. Then why are they trusting us? They're going to go to another big dog that can defend them. I think it's, you know, it's debatable but you get their point, right? It's political. They're doing it because it gives them the ability to play both sides of the fence. In a country like Saudi Arabia, we'll play both sides of the fence. My issue with all of this, as I wrap up this portion for tonight, is that Donald Trump has bitched us out to Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia won't be there when that time comes. And this is how botched this whole situation is when it comes to that. I can understand if a president wants to look to new allies or increase or bring in allies or people or countries that have not been with us in the past. I can understand that. What I can't understand, no, take that back. Let me rephrase that. What I will not accept, not understand, what I will not accept is punking and losing the allies we do have for a potential ally that will not be an ally and cannot be trusted. You understand my point? Our allies are simple. It is the post-World War II order. If you don't like that term, then don't watch my show. The usual suspects, the good suspects for us. France, England, Germany, Italy, European powers, other countries with nuclear capability. Those are our allies. They've been our allies. We fought and we bled with them. They were there when we needed them. And then Donald Trump comes along because it's not him. And he pimps us out to other countries. And now we're losing allies. We're losing our friends on the global scale. For what? To go bend over and take it up the ass from Saudi Arabia? With no guarantee they're going to be our friends and allies anyway. All kinds of bad. Not good. It is damaging us in terms of our foreign policy. It is damaging us in terms of our alliances. It is damaging the United States in terms of the trust it has with the countries and the powers that would normally be with us in critical times. That is the problem. I have a major issue with the Saudi Arabia situation that Donald Trump has gotten us into. And on the back end, and I think I mentioned this last week as we were going off, there's always the specter and the thought that if we can't see what the benefit is to the people of the United States, it's probably logically because there is none. And you have to factor in the thought and the fact that if there is benefit or there is something going on, that it's probably personal to Donald Trump and his family or his friends. That's what it is. And that's probably more likely the case here. We already know because it's in evidence and in fact, and then I laugh and joke now, all this shit about Hunter Biden, and I got nothing for that kid. You know, he is what he is. Nothing special. But this is what I do know. Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump took $2 billion from Saudi Arabia and Arab nations. $2 billion with a B. A B is in fat bitch. They benefited personally from Donald Trump's relationship with Saudi Arabia. That's a problem. For me, that's a problem for the United States. Because after all this shit is done, the United States is not going to benefit. But I'm going to say again, as I raised it as a specter last week, we really need to be paying attention to what else is going on below the surface. Because I'm fairly positive, based on past precedent, based on track record, based on the time that he's been in office, based on what already has happened. Jared Kushner got $2 billion. That's already there. I would be amazed, shocked, fall out of my seat if there is nothing going on that benefits Donald Trump from this peace treaty, peace deal, whatever the hell it ends up being. I hope not. I'd like to be wrong. And as I say that and you calculate the tone of my voice, you do realize that I'm probably going to be right based on everything that you know, you see, that you've already gone through with this sack of shit as president. It's already there. So I know it can't be good. I know that Saudi Arabia is not good for the United States, and I will double down on that. I'll triple down. I'll backflip that bitch and double, quadruple, all the above down on that. Saudi Arabia is not good for the United States. I firmly believe that 100%. That's a lifetime, 55 plus years of studying, reading, learning about foreign policy, our involvement in the Middle East in a variety of capacities going back decades, if not European involvement as a whole, going back to the 19th century. Ask the British and the French. They've been doing this shit a long time too. They've not exactly benefited or come out on the clean side when it comes to their Middle Eastern involvement in Arab states, Arab nations. It's fundamentally stupid, is my point. And it's visibly, objectively viewable. How did that get there? All right, there we go. So pay attention to that. Pay attention to what goes on with Saudi Arabia and the other Gulf states. I would like to think we're better off for it, but I don't think so. I think it's going to not be good. I think there's going to be negative there. And then you're going to ask, why the hell we get involved, right? The United States isn't going to benefit. Our people are not going to benefit. But be mindful, be aware, and pay attention. Follow the money and watch as we find out how Donald Trump and or his friends and family benefit from what's going on here. Something is coming. I feel it / sense it, and those of you that watch should also know it. You should just assume it too. And as I've said before, I'll assume it, and if I'm wrong, then I'm thankful. I'll be thankful. But we're probably going to be right, you and I. Those of you watching, staying with me right now, we're going to be right. Donald Trump, his family, and his friends or others are going to get something out of this shit. Personally. I'd like to think otherwise, but I doubt it. Let me move on. I added here, second line, Epstein files. What next? As a not so subtle reminder that this war was started in part. I don't know if it's 100%. I don't know if it's 1%. I just know that it did matter. That this Trumpstein war, illegal, unconstitutional, and incompetent as all hell, the worst and most illegal, unconstitutional, and incompetent war in the history of the United States of America. Period. Finito. Done. Was started in part, again, I don't know how much, but I know it's there, in part because of the Epstein files. So this is where I want to go with this. We can put this aside for a second. I want to know who in the Congress, who in positions are going to stay tooth and nail on the Epstein files. And I'm going to bleed into the next line here. MAGA pedophile support. You Trump nuts are not going to like that. You Trump nuts are going to have a major problem with that. But I'm going to reiterate this. And if some of you have noticed, you've been watching my show, you're going to say MAGA pedophile support. And if you're smart, you pay attention, and you're good, you will notice that I changed a word from what I've been saying. I've been saying pedophile protection president because he is a pedophile protecting president. That's a fact in evidence. But I'm going to go a step further, and I'm going to say that if you're in the MAGA cult, then by extension, because you kiss his fat ass, then you are also a pedophile protector. Nay, sir. You are not just a pedophile protector. You are a pedophile supporter. And there are degrees to this. There is some separation, right? Is one worse than the other? Yeah, absolutely. Protecting someone can be not as bad as supporting actively someone or something. I was just protecting. No, I was supporting, because that's where I'm at this point, if you haven't figured it out. They're not just protecting the pedophiles that are named in the Epstein files. They're not just protecting them. By extension, if you're a MAGA cult member and you accept all this shit, then you are a supporter. Because those people are not being held to account. Those people are not being called in. Those people are not being investigated. Those people are not being thrown in fucking prison for the shit they did to little girls and kids. They're not. So if you're okay with that, you're not just protecting them. You're supporting them because they're still out there and they're still pulling the same shit. So you're not just a protector, you are a pedophile supporter. Quote the Raven on that shit. If you are a Donald Trump supporter and you look past all that, you are not just MAGA pedophile protection unit. You are a pedophile supporter. You support pedophilia. You support sex traffickers. You support people that hurt little girls. That is what you do. You could not like it. You could not want to hear it, but it's the goddamn truth. because the Epstein files have still not been fully fleshed out. This Department of Justice under Donald Trump has still not investigated, still not called in people that are in the Epstein files and to hold them to justice. Hold them to account for the shit that's in those files. And I'm going to finish here. I'm going to wrap here. To sum it up, the end of my lesson plan for today as a teacher, so that you walk away tonight, if you stayed here and you listened tonight, I appreciate you and I thank you. But you're gonna finish this show tonight, and this is what's gonna stick in your head. And when I did teach, and I was a damn good instructor, the kids didn't have a choice. They had to be in my class for an hour. They didn't have a choice. You do have a choice. You can turn somewhere else. But if you're still here and you're listening, let's make this crystal clear, real simple, blunt end of it. If you're still supporting Donald Trump and you still support the fact that he is doing nothing through his Department of Justice that he runs with his lackey, the new guy that he installed as acting after Pam Bondi got the boot. If you can credibly look me in the eye, stand across from me and tell me that it does not matter that the men that are in the Epstein files named are not being investigated further, are not being brought forward, are not being held to account, not being brought to justice. If you can look me in the eye and tell me that that shit doesn't matter to you, then you're a fucking pedophile supporter. You're not just protecting them, you're supporting them because they're still out there. And as I said a few weeks ago in one of the January 6th instances that I brought up with the people there are pedophiles and sex traffickers right now that Donald Trump has pardoned. There are pedophiles and sex traffickers that are in the Epstein files, and they're out. They're free. Who knows what the hell they're pulling? I don't, and we don't as a people, because our government, the President of the United States, will not do anything about it. Will not investigate, will not hold them to account, will not bring them to justice. That is the pedophile protection presidency. And if you support him, then you are part of the MAGA pedophile support team. That is what you are. You're a fucking pedophile supporter. God's justice and blessings on you, because I got not a fucking thing for you. We'll be back tomorrow, not on the Thursday. I'll see you tomorrow. Number love for you. We'll be back on the Wednesday.